Hello, Keller Williams, everyone watching on Connect Live and Pivot Shift Ahead. It's your friend James Shaw, and I trust you're doing well, ready for a great Wednesday. You know, I love talking to agents who are absolutely knocking it out of the park, but have learned a lot of lessons along the way, and that's what we're going to do today. Ryan, I'm so excited to have you on. I just love you. We were in a bold room together many years ago, and you are an absolutely amazing agent. You've got a great team. And today we're going to talk about something really, really important, which is making sure you're profitable. So as we start, would you introduce yourself to everybody? Tell us a little bit about who you are, a little bit about your business and where you're from.
Yeah, so my name is Ryan Vizda. My team is based in New Hampshire, and I will be an agent 8 years as of May 27th because I keep getting renewal reminders. And my team last year, we closed 135 units, about $45 million in volume, and we were 34% profitable.
Hey, you're like right in line with the model, really, because we talk 30, 30, 40, but as a team, you're just going to have a higher cost of sale and some more expenses too. Yeah. And yet you were doing less and less in the business on a daily basis. I mean, my understanding is you're back in New Hampshire right now after being out of the country for a long time. Tell us a little bit about that before we get started.
Yeah, so I left the United States on December 4th, and I ran my team from Barbados up until last night. And so I'm back in New Hampshire. I think one of the blessings of COVID was the remote culture, and we had a really strong Zoom culture right off the bat in the beginning of the pandemic. And that culture allowed me to build our team to a place where they don't need me in person. And so that was a very big blessing of such a crazy time.
No doubt about it. So we'll take 34% profit if you're not even living in the place where you sell. And gosh, if I lived in New Hampshire, I might want to spend January, February, March, and April in Barbados too. So nothing wrong with that. Well, let's talk a little bit about your story. 8 years in the business, and you have built something pretty amazing, along with your husband, who's now I think a MAPS coach full time. But you guys have built a really cool business. But why I wanted to talk with you is because you have embraced a tool that so many agents put off in embracing, and that is the P&L, the profit and loss statement. And I saw a post that you had put on about how like you literally know up to the second what your profitability is, and yet it hasn't always been that way. It's been a journey. Will you walk us a little bit through what your journey has been like when you know, kind of learning how to become profitable?
Yeah, so my husband started in real estate, as I say, the start of 2012, and we were very poor. We had no idea about money or understanding money at the time. And I've always been an entrepreneur, and at the time I was starting a farming venture. And he got into real estate while he was also doing another full commission business. And as kind of a couple years churned along, my farming venture went down the hill, and then he went from part-time agent to full-time agent, which was 100% commission, to another 100% commission business. And financially, we were just ignoring everything. And we had this basket of bills that just started to stockpile. And we found ourselves by 2014 in $75,000 worth of credit card debt. I also suffered from Lyme disease. So this time was also a little bit blurry for me. I became like a walking zombie. I lost my speech. I lost the use of my hands. That was one of the reasons why the farm venture just went down the hill, is because I just lost the use of just being a human. And so it was the fall of 2014. Mike went to Bold, and he came home and he's like, Ryan, we're in so much debt, but they just told me at this class that I went to that if I do these 5 jobs, lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, sign contracts, and negotiate, and scripts and role play, we can get ourselves out of debt. And at the time I was just oblivious. Like, I was so sick. I was like, okay, tell me what I got to do. So I got my real estate license, and we were a negative $250,000 net worth, that $75,000 worth of credit card debt. And we just did what everybody told us at Keller Williams to do, which was lead generate. At the time we just hit the phone Mike was a really great cold caller. It was a different market than it is right now. There was thousands of expireds, and we just started putting listing on after listing on. Our market center was very gracious to us. They allowed us to borrow signs, borrow lock boxes, because as soon as you start getting listings, there's expenses. So we had like other people's signs in front of properties. And I think it was 2015, September of 2015. We had a September where we were able to sell the house we were living in at a $25,000 profit, and we had a $50,000 GCI month. So we were able to wipe the credit card debt clean, which then gave us the confidence to take our last credit card at a 27% interest rate and get a MAPS coach. So we've had a MAPS coach for years. And the first kind of expectations call, the question was like, what is your goal with MAPS coaching? And I said, I don't want to survive, I want to thrive. And that really became this dedication from there to really follow the model. And part of that was getting the finances in line. And so we were going from this negative $75,000 credit card. And when you make a bunch of money, you don't pay the IRS, you get IRS debt. So we carried IRS, about 50 grand in IRS debt for 2 years. And in July of 2017, we paid that off. We took Gary's advice. I just remember going to that first mega camp and hearing him say how he started his team on, or the real estate business, Keller Williams, on folding tables in an empty office. And he lived very modest in his living. And so Mike and I followed that. We bought a 2-family that used a 203K loan. We lived very small. I bought a 2015. In 2015, I bought a Prius, which was very low gas mileage. We didn't take out any more debt. We just started paying down debt, paying down student loans, paying down everything that we had accumulated, because we also got a loan from a family member, paying that down, and living really small in house-wise and life-wise until now we're
Ryan,
really.
I want to jump in.
Sorry, I'm just like rambling.
No, you're doing great. And I want to jump in because I think what you've shared are two things that many people in our industry battle, but nobody wants to talk about. And that is massive amounts of credit card debt and massive amounts of IRS debt. Both of those things are ridiculously common in this industry. And I talk to top people all the time. This is what I do for a living, is interview elite agents like you. And so many of them tell me those things, right? That we had a negative net worth. Yours was $250,000. And that you owed so many people so much money, and it was expensive money that you owed, right? That your credit card debt was a lot, and the interest rate's high. The IRS is going to tack fee after fee after fee. I mean, and they're going to get paid. So I want you to first tell me what it was like to just come to terms with that. Because is that the first step of getting your financial picture in order? Is just being willing to sit down and admit, here's where we are. We're not going to play the blame game or the woe is me, but here's where we are. And now let's talk about a plan.
Yeah, exactly. So we came to the table. Our team leader, Mark Mulcahy, at the time was coaching us, and he said, him and a bunch of other people were like, why don't you guys just do foreclosure and bankruptcy? You're about to make a ton of money. And Mike and I said, there were some circumstances that were out of our control, like Lyme disease, but ultimately we made a bunch of choices that got us to this place, and we're going to do the work to get ourselves out. And we had that mindset too, of like, we're truly going to help people be advise on wealth and building wealth through real estate. We can't just like blank slate this. We have to do it right. So we followed the debt snowball. We wrote down all our debts, and then every week on an Excel spreadsheet, we were just like, how much can we pay off the smallest one? And just worked our way through that for years. And it was very stressful because there's a lot of pain in the fact where you wake up every day to work for your past. And we were both just so motivated to cross that threshold to work for our future. And I think that's what happens with debt, is you're basically working off your past choices. And so we were extremely, extremely motivated to move to that place where we would be working for our future, which we're so grateful that we're in that place right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, that's great advice, and a total mic drop, right? Of let's get from the point that we're working for our past, in other words, our past decisions, to the point that we're working for our future. And you did that. What advice would you give to somebody who right now is listening to this and going, okay, you know what? I'm where Ryan was back in 2017. I got to go right now, work for my past, right? I got to make the decisions and do the things to be able to come to pay my obligations from previous decisions, what advice would you give to them?
I think give yourself grace. You got to drop the shame. You got to drop the guilt. Any type of negative feeling you have towards that decision making that got you there, you have to let that go. Because if you carry that with you, then that's gonna just build up and might get in your way of moving forward. And then just do the work, like one step at a time. It's all laid out there in that book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. One step at a time, just start making calls and going after it. And then we were very diligent in figuring out who the professionals were going to be in our life to help hold us accountable to analyzing where every single one of our dollars went. In real time.
And that's where you are now, Ryan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, you guys, you, like I said, you'd posted that, like, it's so freeing to know exactly what the financial picture is in any moment. So talk about the transition to that because now you have to embrace certain tools. You got to, P&L is the most basic of those tools that you have to embrace along with others. So what are some of the tools that you've embraced and how has that helped you?
Well, QuickBooks is huge, like real-time QuickBooks going on every day and just seeing what the expenses are, what the income is, auditing. Like I go through every single category on the P&L and just make sure, like, is that an expense that we need? Our executive assistant has a MAPS coach too, so she holds her accountable every month to say, is there anything that the admin team is using with in regards to operations that is not necessary? And we need to put it at a 4-time minimum ROI. So we're starting to really streamline, like, every single lead generation dollar is being held accountable to make more money. Every time we invest in a new administrative person on our team, like, what are they doing to hold their salary 4 times ROI? And we can only do that because we have the real-time knowledge of our P&L.
So what suggestions would you have to somebody that's not keeping a P&L, just like you guys weren't in the beginning, not keeping a P&L, and it seems overwhelming. Real estate agents are not financial experts. We're great salespeople and we go sell houses and build relationships, but so many people, this is not our strong suit. So what advice would you give to that person that's like, okay, I get it. I know I've heard 100 times this year, I got to have a P&L.
Leverage. So leverage, like I leverage a MAPS coach to hold me accountable. And then I hired a little bit more than a bookkeeper. He also has a business mindset. So he's constantly saying, hey, Ryan, look at this. Like, maybe you could do this better. So I invest in people, which is leverage. People that have a better look and skill set than I do around what I'm trying to accomplish. And I lean into that. And it is an investment. And I think the other advice is to stop thinking like QuickBooks and a bookkeeper is an expense. It's actually an investment. And same with MAPS coaching. I think that's an investment, not an expense.
All right. So what are some lessons you've learned from having these professionals around you that have helped you in your business? Because it sounds like they do more than just make a report for you on a monthly basis, that they're partners with you almost.
Correct. They just ask questions that I'm not thinking about because I'm not spending all day looking at numbers. So I'm more in the, building my team. So they bring questions and ideas that I wouldn't be able to have because that's their skill set. And accountability. I think those are kind of the two things in the recipe of success. There's their skill, their mindset, and the accountability.
Okay, skill set and accountability. But accountability around money can be really tough. And you are in business with your husband, which has got to be tough. So what's that like to have the accountability conversation with just around money as a whole, and then also have your husband involved in that?
Yeah, so he comes from the MAPS coaching perspective, and he likes to say he really likes help people get to that life by design. So he wants to know always, like, what's our allocation around just our lifestyle. Like, so first get really clear, like if that's, you want to spend X on food, or what are your basics, and then what do you desire, and then what do you need to earn to just hit that, and then what do you need for your capitalization account, which is like your investment account. So he is not involved in, I kind of took over the business. He doesn't have any input on like where we're spending our dollars, but he has more input on like our personal life and how we're going to live that life by design, and not just work all the time, and really say, hey, we're doing this business to fund this life, which is, go live in Barbados for 5 months. And we planned that all out for over a year. We filled up a bank account with all our expenses that we predicted we would need for 5 months. We net zeroed our New Hampshire expenses. So we had no cost of living to pay for in New Hampshire. And we just really planned that out. So if anything, he is that partner in terms of life by design and holding us accountable to like making our money move towards how we want our life to be.
That's got to be so freeing. I mean, I'm hearing you talk about this, and I think about, you've always been a very big thinker, at least the time I've known you. You've been a big thinker who's focused on possibilities,
right?
And finding solutions and how can we accomplish things. I think there's so many people that might sit around and go, live in Barbados like for 5 months. Like, how does one even do that? Right. But talk about, I guess, how freeing that is, just to be able to sit down and look at it and go, yeah, our team's going to run. We can go do this in Barbados. Your husband was doing his coaching calls from there, and you're checking in from the team. But just how much,
just like you thought too, and all the people that helped you. Like
it's got to be
amazing. James.
Oh, well, so, Ryan, I'm thinking it's got to be so rewarding to look at members of your team and see their lives change as well, based on just them choosing to be with you and learning from your lessons of the past. What's that like to watch them grow and see their lives impacted?
I think that's why I wake up every day. It's amazing. It feels like I'm really reached that level of John Maxwell's 5 level of leadership, where like you wake up and every day and you're growing, like you're a leader that then is helping leaders grow. I think that's the 5th level, right? I feel like at some days with the team, that's what's happening. Not only are they helping people buy and sell real estate, but they're helping their family and their legacy grow to the next level. And it's just trying to find the word for it. Fulfilling. Yeah. It's fulfilling. It feels like I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay. So you said that your advice to an agent who is sitting there and looking at debt, whether it's credit card debt, IRS debt, medical debt, whatever that debt is, student loan debt, whatever they got, they're looking at debt. Your first piece of advice was give yourself grace. It just is what it is. And then kind of come up with a plan. That was the next thing. You guys use Snowball, which is very common. A lot of people do that. And so using that plan, you said then to get into relationship with professionals to add accountability. And you mentioned Matt's coach, and then someone who's an expert in finances and understanding that. You talked about being familiar with MREA and understanding the models from that. What other advice would you give to somebody that you've learned along this journey?
Streamline your finances. So we opened up a business bank account and then a business credit card, and we have a personal bank account and a personal credit card, and really make the difference between what you're spending, how you're spending. And that's a very easy way, because then it syncs right up to QuickBooks and it's a lot easier to track expenses. And then audit your expenses every month. Like if you are in the red and you have a bunch of subscriptions, maybe you start to get rid of them until you're in the green again. I love red light, green light. I ran my business very lean up until I'm still quite lean. But last year, my coach was like, Ryan, I think you can spend more on lead generation, because you're at like, I was at 2.5%, and I think you're supposed to be at 9.5%. He's like, it's time for you to spend a little bit more money and invest in your business. That red light, green light is really important when it comes to every single dollar.
Well, and you're looking at these things like an investment. Your coach said, invest in your business. And we never say just because the model says you can spend 9.5% means you need to. Right. But if you're at 2.5% and getting a 4x return on that, well, what happens if you're spending 5% of your GCI on lead generation? Then what happens? It could be massive. But again, you've got a partner who's walking you through it and giving you advice and giving you tips. So I love it. Ryan, as we wrap up, what's the kind of the final tip, the message, the pro tip, whatever, the final nugget you want people to get from your journey, again, of being, having a net worth of negative $250,000 to now, I imagine it's not that. It's quite the opposite of that. Yeah. What advice would you give?
I love that. Just give yourself grace. Like, you have to stop judging yourself. And that's so easy to say. And because it was really hard for me to do. And I think that's why I keep going back to that place, is like, stop judging yourself for being in that position. Financial literacy and understanding of money is not a language that a lot of us were given. It's not really taught in public schools. And it's okay. Money is a language, and you just have to learn how to speak it. And don't judge yourself if you didn't know how to speak it until now. And now, just do the work.
And don't judge yourself if you're still learning how to speak it, or if in this moment you realize you need to. And the good news is we've got the Millionaire Real Estate Agent to help you. You got Agent Financials, which is a great class, a little 4-hour class that I'd say if you don't understand the financial piece, then go teach the class, because now you got to learn it to go teach it to other people. So Ryan, great stuff. Congratulations to you and your husband. Welcome back to New Hampshire. You've come back in May, so I imagine they're starting to get leaves on trees and the sun's starting to shine.
Yes.
Thanks so much for taking the time out to share your story with us. Congratulations. We're really proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James.
Great stuff, Ryan. It really is. And a great reminder to all of us, right? Let's go ahead and take those things that we know we should do that would help us in our business, and actually do them, and make the decision that now's the right time to go add the tools and the accountability to make you win. You know, she pointed out she's got a MAPS coach. She's enrolled in Bold. She was engaged in conversations with her team leader. She's following the MREA models and then starts to implement the tools from those. What does your world look like when you choose to embrace that? It changed Ryan's world. It can change yours too. Hope you got value out of our time together today. That's our goal, is to do that for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Connect Live and Pivot Shift Ahead. See ya.